Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now, a question I get asked quite a lot is how to fix the arms on a vintage Star Wars Hoth Wampa. And this is a problem that, to be honest, I'd not seen before, and it's taken me quite a while to track down a Wampa with the right sort of problems. And here we have one that I picked up recently. As you can see, the arms are starting to fall off. So apparently this is a pretty common issue, but this is the first one I've ever seen, so it's a new one on me, but it does look like it is easily fixable. So let's go ahead and get this guy into pieces and we'll see what we can do to fix him. So here we have the Wampa, and it's pretty obvious what's happened. There's a thickish bit of elastic that goes through both arms, and there's a metal well, it must have been a metal clasp that held the loose two ends of the this bit of elastic together, and that has rusted away and perished, and so the elastic has pulled apart. So it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to fix that in its current state. So I think the first thing to do is actually just cut through this elastic and take the arms out. So if I just cut through that with a pair of scissors, we can now get the arms out of the Wampa, and I can remove this elastic, and we're left with a little bit of plastic inside there, which is a bit awkward. That's going to be fairly hard to deal with, but it should be fixable, and I'll do the same on this side in a minute. First though, I think this whole thing needs cleaning. It's absolutely filthy, so I'm going to give it a clean in hot soapy water, and we'll see what we can do after that. Now that we have the Wampa apart comes the tricky bit, and that's putting the arms back together. Inside each arm, it's quite hard to show, but if I use a pair of tweezers just to grab the piece of plastic that's in there. Inside the arm, it's pretty hard to show. There's a piece of plastic with two holes in it, and this is what the original elastic was threaded through. So what we need to do is going to be to thread a bit of elastic back through that. Now I'm going to use slightly smaller elastic than the one that came with the original figure, just to make it easier to get through the holes. But first thing, we've got to get a bit of wire threaded through so that we can then start pulling some other bits through, because you're never going to be able to thread the elastic through just in one go. So what I have here is a very thin piece of wire, and I'm going to make a small hook out of one end, let me just get that right, about that long, and I want to thread that through one side of one hole and pull it up so that it comes back out the other side of the other hole, and that's the first part of the threading process. So let's get that done. So first up, we've got to get the bit of metal through. This is pretty hard to do. It's much easier to do without the camera in the way, like so. So I've now managed to hook, you can see, the bit of wire through the two holes. So I'm just going to use a pair of pliers here to pull that wire through a little bit more. So now we have the bit of plastic hooked. What we need to do is thread a piece of cotton through. So I just have a thin bit of thread here, which I'm actually going to tie. I'm going to hook to one end of this wire, and then I can pull this back through, and we'll have this through the two holes rather than the wire. So I've attached the threads to this wire, and I'm now just going to, using a pair of pliers, pull the wire through, and it should pull the bit of thread through, so that's perfect. Now onto the next bit. So I picked up some round elastic. This is a slightly thinner diameter than the elastic that was originally used, but should work just as well. It's nice and thick and has quite a good strength to it. So what we need to do is tie the bit of thread that we've passed through the two holes to this elastic, and then we can pull the elastic through the two holes back the same way that we did with the metal wire. So I've tied the elastic to the thread, and I'm now going to just pull this through the two holes. You can just line up the elastic with the first hole just to make sure that it goes through, and then pull it through, and there we have the elastic through the two holes. So this arm is now got some elastic inside it. So the next part of the problem is how to join these two arms together. I've actually decided on a way that I think should work quite nicely, because putting the elastic through two arms and then tying a knot and getting the knot tight enough that the arms are held tightly in place isn't going to be easy. So I thought the way to do it is actually add a loop of elastic to one side like this, and I'll do the same on the other side. I just got to finish this one off, tie this loop so it's quite short, and I'm going to use some cable ties that I can pass through the body, and I can tighten these up and once they're tight, they stay tight. You don't actually have to tie a knot. So I should be able to tighten this up inside the body, joining the two bits of elastic together across the arms, and the arm should be held in place. So first up, I've just got to finish putting this arm together. So I'm just going to tie it in a knot similar to this one, so there's a very small loop of elastic, because you don't want a great deal of elastic. As you can see, once the arms are in place, you don't want a great deal of distance between the two loops. So let's get this one done and we'll see what happens. So you can see now I've passed the two ends of the cable tie through the Wampa's body. As you can see, the elastic in there is poking just to about the middle section. And I've actually got this under tension at the moment, so I'm just going to hold this in place. It might even be a good idea to use something to grab the elastic and hold it sticking out of the arm. In fact, I'm just going to get a screwdriver because I think that would make quite a big difference. So yeah, if I can pull the elastic pretty tightly, and I should be able to push this screwdriver through like so, and that holds the arm right out of the body. So that should make life a little bit easier for the next bit of the challenge. So now that I've got that cable tied through, what I need to do is attach this other arm. So I'm just going to thread the cable tie through the bit of elastic like so, and then I can start putting everything back together. So the idea is we're going to use the cable tie to tighten these two bits of elastic together in the middle of the Wampa. So if I start threading this together like so, actually it turns out I don't need this excess bit of elastic. I was just leaving that there just in case. So I can now tighten this cable tie right up. That's joined the two bits of elastic together, as you can see there. If I take this screwdriver out of the way, the arms should ping back inside and are nice and tight. So that's working quite nicely. So now all I've got to do is trim off the end of the cable tie like so, so that can hide inside the body. I'm just going to use a screwdriver to push that in place. And there we have it. There's the Wampa. His arms are back on and they're really quite tight again, so that you can pose him. He looks like he's good to go. So there we have it, the Wampa is back in fighting action. It's not the easiest of things to do. Getting the elastic through the little hole that's on the inside of the arm is pretty awkward, but if you have some patience and a small pair of tweezers, it is doable. It took me about 5 minutes the first go to get the first arm through. The second arm was slightly quicker because I'd worked out a good technique there of using the wire to hook through, but it is possible. And then just tie two small loops of elastic on either shoulder and use a cable tie to join them together in the middle. It's not the prettiest of fixes, but as this is all inside, you're never actually going to see it. And I'm guessing this technique can be used for the Rancor as well, which is built in a similar construction. So it's probably a fix that can be used over a number of Star Wars characters. I think the 12-inch figures probably use a similar setup as well. So loops and cable ties are going to be the answer to fixing that. So I hope that's been of interest to you, and thanks for watching.